Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and we are on the free-to-play account. So just going to give you guys a real quick update. So Clan v Clan right now, we're looking at my scores. So far only 34,000, but it's not a personal reward, so I'm not going super ham on it. So far really all I've done is spend my books, but I'm going to do the rest of it with you guys. So I did put that one book into Armanz. You can see he's no longer on here because he is fully booked. And boy, does that one turn make a difference. Huge, huge results. We'll talk about that shortly. I did put my remaining books into Newt. Sure enough, they went into the A1 and into the A2. I didn't get anything on the A3, so no cooldown reduction, no increase in damage. A little disappointed about that. Now for the epic books, I'm just going to do a quick run through and make sure that I'm still on the right track of who I want to put those books on. And I am. I don't see anybody else that I would rather put those books on other than, for now, like Shamil. Okay. And, I mean, we're going to book them up. We got plenty of them. We want the points for Clan v Clan. And I think he's kind of... No, I guess he's not. Yeah, we already booked him up. Cool. So, Shamil's booked. Ugo is booked already. You guys have asked about that before when I was looking for suggestions on who to use my books on. Melga would be the next one to get books because I am going to focus on the faction wars and Melga is going to get used in there. She's probably going to get 5-starred. She only ever needed to be 5-starred on my main account, so I feel like I could do the same here and get away with it. Even if my gear will be a little bit weaker. So, that's going to be a big boost in points. So we'll just take a quick look and you'll see, yeah, we just got, jumped way over that 33. We jumped up several positions from where we were at 33,000 points. So books are key. They're very, very, very helpful in these situations. I don't think we really have anything in the Great Hall. We're still short to be able to upgrade this to 10. I haven't looked at missions in a while. What mission am I on? Oh, I did Arbiter. That's right. So I guess Vermont 2 missions, and it's Faction Wars. So, okay. Other Clan v Clan stuff. I can forge things right now, so what could I forge? It's probably going to be... We could forge a little bit of Guardian. I'm actually very excited to do that because Guardian gear is really good. Let's go ahead and craft some of this. Okay, attack percent and crit rate percent with accuracy. I don't think I see myself using that. Crit rate gloves, okay. Poor substats, but I'm excited to get some crit rate gloves in Guardian. In case, I mean, you'd really want more defensive stats there, but it is what it is. Probably not going to use that. I'm probably more picky than a lot of other people may be about their gear. A big part of that is I kind of am... Things get a little twisted for me mentally sometimes because I'm playing 2 accounts simultaneously. And so, like, a lot of gear I wouldn't keep on the main account. And so sometimes I tend to maybe be a little overly critical of stuff over here on the free-to-play. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's actually a good thing. I like this. So HP percent chest in Perception is just good. Even though the substats aren't speed or accuracy, I do like the defense percent. I have like or HP percent. I have no HP percent on my main account right now that isn't already equipped, even with bad substats. So I will keep that one. But what I was saying is the gear. Oh, I think it's okay to be hypercritical of gear. I'm going to keep this just in case. as I say, as I make a decision that's a just in case. But the reason that I paused on that one and did that is there may come a time where I just want somebody that's decked out in accuracy. Kind of thinking like perhaps Armanz for PvP at some point where I just load him up with speed and accuracy and just let him kind of go to town, right? So, okay, but yeah, I think it's good to be overly critical of gear than to be too liberal with gear and just take every single piece, because you're just going to get yourself into a more frustrated state. And what I mean by that is, let's say you take in all those pieces and you get to 1500. If you haven't ever done a gear cleanse before, they're tedious and they take a long time because you're theoretically going piece by piece by piece by piece. Now, I can say I'm guilty of this on my main account where it's like, oh, okay, I'm full on gear. What 4-star stuff do I have? Trash it all. What blue stuff? I'm at the point now on that account where I don't keep any blues. And if you're very liberal with gear and you feel yourself and you get to that point and you don't want to go piece by piece by piece and you're kind of lazy about it, which I am, right? Then you may just delete some usable pieces. Like, for example, on my main account, I may have some blue gear that had speed and accurate, speed boots with accuracy and like HP percent, which I could really use today when I was building some champions on my main account, and I don't have access to it, and that's my own doing, right? And so, but the reason for that is because I end up taking such a large amount of gear in, and when I do a cleanse, I'm very like, I'll just get rid of all of the blues. I'll get rid of all of the 5-star gear, right? I wouldn't actually do that, but that's the kind of, you get to a point after 20 minutes of gear cleansing and you're like, bro, I just want to be done. Can we just get rid of all this stuff that I probably won't use? And there could be some gems in there. So I like to be critical here so that I don't fill it up so much, and then I find those gems when I need them. So today, for example, if I was going to build the champions that I was building on my main, and I had blue boots, I probably would have used them, especially if they were in the right, what's it called, gear set. So that's just my opinion. There's several different ways to go about gearing. I suggest you kind of find your own system, but I do think that being overly critical at the start can save you from, if you're overly critical and you let really good blues in, well, then you're going to be less likely at any, like, you won't get to a point where you're just going to throw away all your blues. So something along those lines. I kind of just rambled there for a little bit, and I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know how to put words to it very well, apparently. So I do apologize. Bottom line, be critical of your gear. As you can see, I'm being very critical on a lot of this stuff. And one could argue maybe too much so, but if you're wondering kind of what I'm looking at, let's talk about the next piece, and I'll talk about why I want to keep or get rid of it. So we have an attack percent chest with defense percent substat, flat HP, and flat attack. Now, I want to sell this. Now, why do I want to sell it? Well, if I'm doing an attack percent chest piece, it's most likely going to be on a nuker, right? So I would want to see crit rate, crit damage down here, maybe some speed. You could make an argument for HP percent or defense percent for a little bit of survivability, but for the most part, you're looking to put damage out and gain your survivability from your support champions, right? Not always. Like, it's not a bad thing to get those stats, but the main thing I'd be looking for on a chest piece that had attack percent would be crit rate and crit damage, and that has none of it here. So there's not much reason for me to go with that piece. And then this one I would say no to right out the gate because it's flat HP, which you could re-roll that if you want, but that's not really the best use, I think, of rerolls. Um, I guess what is the best use of rerolls, which is a fair question, but that's probably another discussion for another video. So let's talk about where I have had some successes. So Doom Tower went a lot faster today with Armanz being on a 3-turn cooldown. I was able to clear through these waves very quickly. This wave right here, I almost gave up on, and you can't see it, but the first wave in here had Hegemon, which locked out my Armanz and made it very frustrating because I couldn't open with the turn meter control and the stun. However, I was able to survive, or at least my Arbiter survived, and then she was able to revive everybody, and we were able to move on fairly easily. So I lucked out there that Hegemon wasn't able to lock me out, and all the other waves were pretty easy to do. The boss took a little bit of time, but someone called it in the comments, and I got to give you props. I don't remember your name. I apologize, but in the comments of my last video where I talked about Doom Tower and I said, I'm not going to be able to do Spider on the next difficulty, and they were like, pretty sure that team will work on the next Spider too. And it absolutely did. I used the exact same team, and I actually scrolled down and found the team that worked and said, well, let's start there. And it worked great. Well, oh, sorry, I had to make one change. Instead of Rathalos, I had to take Rathalos out and put in Armanz. And that's actually because the wave before the Spider was the problem. Killing the Spider, I did it on my third try. And it was, the only reason that I was failing to the Spider was because of the wave before the Spider had, I think it's Eligaius. And Eligaius was putting Death Knight's A3 on cooldown. He would put all his abilities on cooldown. And I couldn't find a way, because my damage dealers do so much damage, I couldn't find a way to cycle through to get those off cooldown. Like, I was just A1ing the Eligaiuses, and it didn't matter. Because they were able to, because they're, I think his A1 is what was locking me out. So, and because of his passive, even if they targeted a different champion, they still targeted Death Knight. So he just kept getting locked out. And so I brought Armanz to just crowd control those two guys. And it worked out great. And then when we got to the Spider, I just stunned the Spiderlings, and that became a non-issue. They were irrelevant. Even with their counterattack, because they were stunned, they couldn't counterattack, and they had no turn meter. And then when he did his attack, honestly, I probably shouldn't have used... I did AoE them down. I probably shouldn't have, and I should have just killed the boss, now that I think about it. And because they would have been stunned, and they wouldn't have attacked, I think. I don't really know how the mechanics of that work, which is, you know, it's just something that I never toyed around with before. Usually I just kill them. Like, I take off their counterattack, I kill them pretty quickly because they're weak, and then I kill the Spider. But either way, this team worked. HP burn from Geomancer, and he just killed himself. Especially with the Spiders not having their counterattack, because he hits multiple times. Instead of applying poisons, he just, like, hits us, and he just kept doing damage to himself over and over and over. So, really happy that this team worked out, and very happy for the progress in Doom Tower Hard, which, again, I want to point out to you guys, like, I wasn't saying well, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you hadn't have come at me in the comments and said, like, you should be doing Doom Tower Hard, I probably would have given up at one of these earlier bosses that would have been too hard. I probably would have given up at the Hegemon wave that I couldn't beat today because, well, that I struggled to beat. I did beat it, right? But I'm, like, more motivated now because you guys were, like, kind of calling me out and saying that I was not trying in Doom Tower, so now I'm actually trying, and it's pretty easy for the most part. Maybe takes me a little bit of extra time in the day, an hour or so, but, you know, manualing the fights is boring and whatever, but it's working, and we're getting great resources. I think I may have gotten a Void Shard from this, or I got maybe a book, maybe a Void epic book, I'm not sure. But we got a good reward from it, and we're getting that much closer to potentially better rewards if we look at what we have moving forward. You know, we could potentially, we've got a legendary book in there. We've got a void shard, another legendary book, a sacred, and another sacred. So two sacreds are on the line here if I can keep this up. So not too bad, not too bad at all. Okay. Just thinking if there's really anything else that I wanted to talk about. We did get news, so the Vault Keeper Wixwell Fusion will be starting on May 9th. It is a traditional fusion, so we will have to farm up or level up champions and stuff. I'm just going to do a quick check of my potions here. I feel pretty good about my potions. I feel like I have a pretty deep stockpile, definitely of Force and Spirit. Magic's a little light, but I do have another, 60 right here. So I know they released what the champions are going to be, but I'm not too worried about it. I feel like I have a pretty deep inventory here. When they do, I've watched the video today. I just forgot what the champions were that are coming out. I guess I could pull it back up. I think I still have it up on my other screen here. I do. Okay. So the rare is a void rare. Okay. So we will need quite a few void potions. But we're already past Sunday, so we may have to wait and farm some void potions in the middle of it. But at least then I'll have an idea of what I'm looking at as far as ascending the rares. And the epic, I assume, is this Arwid, which is Force. We're really good on Force. I have the most that I have. So feeling really good about the traditional fusion here. And I'm very, very excited about Wixwell. I really, really am. They did show his base stats and everything. I don't really have it available to show on screen, but his base defense is going to be really high, which means that he's going to have very good survivability in the area that I'm looking to use him. So that will help potentially free up Godseeker so that I could maybe use her elsewhere in the game, perhaps building a Sand Devil team with her and Newt, since I happen to have both of them. We could get pretty far as long as I gear them appropriately, and which is going to be a challenge on this account. Shoot, it's a challenge on my main account. So that's what I spent most of my day today doing, was trying to complete a Sand Devil team, and I just can't quite get it to be 100%. So I've got some tweaking to do. I'm a little short on the stats that I need, but I should be able to grind them out. I just really need to keep doing Sand Devil is the thing. I need to do Sand Devil in order to get to better ascend the gear and re-roll those ascensions, which will get me. I just need a little bit more speed, and I've used up all of my enchantments and everything. So, let's see what else is going on. So we are very lucky today because it's Clan v Clan Day, so we got a bunch of keys. So already we 4-keyed Ultra Nightmare and 1-keyed Nightmare. Barely, I will admit, we only barely pulled off the 1 key. But that does mean I'll have an extra key to put into Brutal today in 44 minutes. And that's going to get me topped off and guarantee that I get 6 chests tomorrow, which increases my chances for shards, of course, so that I can get more ancients and voids from something like Brutal. and then obviously more chances at sacreds, legendary books, epic books, all that stuff. So very, very happy. I don't know if you guys have noticed how quickly these things are growing now, with simply because Ultra Nightmare is unlocked. So very happy with my progress there. We've done pretty much everything that I would normally do. I think I am first place in the Sand Devil tournament right now. I did max get all the rewards, and I am currently first place. I'm not competing for this. If I get passed, so be it. I got an influx of energy. So I got 1,000 energy today from wrong thing. Daily login rewards. There we go. Yeah. So day 246, I got an influx of energy. So I got 1,000 energy, which is a lot, of course. So that needs to be used. I have to come up with a plan for how I want to use that energy. There's no point, I feel like, in saving it going into Wixwell. I've got the gems. I'm fine. I would rather use it in some capacity to improve my roster. There are definitely champions on here that need to be built. Let's talk about, though, who's going to be next, right? I did say Armanz was next, and I have been saying I was going to go with Shamil, but I really think I'm going to change it up again. I know, what a surprise. I can never stick with the decision. I think I still want to go with Yakarl. Mostly for the lockout. I'm still 2 weeks away from Mithrala. No. 3 weeks away from Mithrala. So I won't really be able to build her anytime soon. So it's okay to pick another champion between now and then, especially since we're going to have a bunch of champion training and stuff. I find myself struggling at times when I need damage that is a different affinity right now. So, for example, when we did the Griffin boss in Doom Tower the other day, I was struggling here because I didn't have a way to do damage to this boss without bringing debuffs. And you don't want debuffs. Now, granted, he brings freezes. Yakarl does. But he also smacks. Another option would also be to level Coldheart. I don't think Coldheart has the survivability for that fight in general, though. She is very squishy, and I don't expect to build her to where she would be super tanky. I can, but even, on my main account, I've got HP chests on my Coldhearts, and they're still very squishy. So, I don't think that I would really build her that way. Shamil would be a good option, though, because Shamil doesn't really bring any debuffs. And he brings really good damage, especially... we can't buff him, so we won't really get the... where is it? For each buff, yeah. So we won't get as much of the defense ignore, but we still get defense ignore out of him. We can build him to do a pretty good bit of damage. So perhaps he's the option. What I like about Yakarl, and Inquisitor Shamil is the same thing. I like Yakarl for PvP with the AoE damage that he would bring, but I do want to point out that Yakarl is really, Shamil is very good in PvP as well, especially with this ability. If you can set this up, you can kill pretty much anybody on an enemy team, because you can potentially get 100% defense. You can get pure true damage, right? Where you're ignoring all of the enemy defense. Like you can kill Ultimate Death Knight because you're ignoring all of his defense, provided that you have at least 3 buffs on Shamil, which isn't too difficult if you're playing right. So, right out the gate, increase attack from Arbiter. If you're rocking something like Ultimate Death Knight, you could do Shield Continuous Heal. Ursula brings 2 with increased defense and strengthen. If you're really looking to set him up. Now, there are better champions than the ones that I'm listing. I'm simply going off of who I have on my roster. But if you can get him set up, the unkillable, I think, is only on himself, right? Yeah. But if you can get him set up, he can do a lot of damage. You don't even need that whole defense ignorer. I mean, even if you have him in Savage gear, you would only need to go to, what, 75? So you only 2 buffs at that point? Is that how much Savage gear is? It's 25 or 20. Yeah, 25. So 1 set of Savage gear, 2 buffs on him, and then his default 25%, and there you go, right? So, okay. Well, I think I've rambled on enough for you guys, and we are coming up on time. But that's everything that's going on the account. I feel like I had a question. Somebody asked a question, I think, in the comments. So give me one moment and pull up the comments here. Okay, so I already typed out the answer to them, but they did say, who are hex options for Hydra. One thing I would say to consider too. So they've got Mithrala, Marinix, and Dilysia. I recommended Mithrala just because I think Mithrala brings more to the table. Shields, increase attack, increase defense, and no, she's Night Elf, Dark Elf. Okay. So Mithrala brings shields and strengthen. Forgot about the strengthen. Then she brings increased defense and attack with the hex, which is really good. Extra poisons, of course, and her damage is based on defense, so you can build her tanky and still get some decent output out of her. She's also usable in every area of the game because of petrification, the full cleanse as well that I forgot to mention. So I think she brings more to the table than the other 2 options. I know Marinix. I'm actually not even familiar enough. There she is. I do like its decreased defense in Hex, though. That's pretty nice. 2 extra hits. Nor unkillable. Kills an enemy without a Hex. Kills an enemy under a Hex. So that's irrelevant. So I do like that it's Hex and decreased defense. But other than that, I think you get more utility and value out of Mithrala, to answer your question. Because of the increased defense, the increased attack, shield, everything that she brings, cleanse, all that stuff. She brings a lot more to the table. But the other thing to consider, too, is the cursed set. If you have an AoE attacker, I would recommend considering a cursed set because they have a 50% chance to place the hex, and then you don't need to bring somebody. So if I was looking at my roster and who I might consider for a set like that, I don't know that I have a great candidate for. Well, I have good candidates. I just don't know that I have one. Yeah, Suzerain would be a really good candidate. AoE A1 that could decrease speed, but put him in a hex or a cursed set, and then he also is going to have a 50% chance to place hex, off of his A1, which he would theoretically use a lot. And then the A2 is also an AoE hit, so again, we get another chance. And then we're also bringing weaken and decreased defense on that, albeit the decreased defense is a low percent chance because of the way that it is. And this is another attack. So his entire kit is attack all enemies. Prime candidate for a cursed set. Now, obviously, you may not have him. I do. But that's kind of... I wanted to give you an idea of what your options are. In your case, if you have Mithrala, just use Mithrala. It's easy. All right, everybody. That's pretty much the video at this point. I am tinkering around with a couple of other things. I did not stream today. I know I said I might stream. I definitely was not able to do that today. I was up rather late and was very tired today and was working very... I probably should have streamed because it was good content. Because I was working hard on building a team on my main account for Sand Devil. One thing I did find, so in order, I did get to stage 25. That was the hard part. So now that I'm at stage 25, I just need to squeeze out a few extra stats. The team that I'm looking to achieve, you know what? That's a video for another time. But that's what I spent all day doing, which would have been really educational and informative for you guys. So maybe I should stream or record that stuff for you guys in the future, which is what I plan to do in a couple weeks from now when I'm streaming full time. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the support. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. It is the best way to support the channel, and I come out with content like this every day, and you're going to see a little bit more coming out, maybe more planned out videos where I can kind of write out a script and kind of come up with a better general idea. I did record my first short today, but I didn't like it, and so I deleted it. So, mostly because what I said was wrong. That's a big part of it. So, but I'm working on trying to make more content and expand and get more stuff out there. So, thank you guys for all the support. I super appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one.